So, hello, I am Victoria. I am a recruitment expert of Sales Pro for You. We are a coaching and recruiting agency in the photonics and in the medtech industry. And what are we doing today? So, today we are incredibly excited about this live event that finally is going on. Thank God. And this session is about the realities of entrepreneurship. Okay, for like in Spanish we say emprendedores. So this is about this side B of entrepreneurship. And today's discussion actually is going to be a little bit different from what we originally planned because we will go into from theory to practice, right? And we will also be sharing our own story and insights of how we develop our journey as entrepreneurs. So I will do a quick introduction of our two great speakers here. We have Aloysius Carl, and I will read this, who goes by Al. He is a founder of nine companies. He's former Fortune 100 leader, advisor, speaker, and author who has built, led, and advised businesses across multiple industries. His experience spans startups, corporate innovation and transformation, culture change, ethics, and strategic execution. Al brings a practical, field-tested perspective on entrepreneurship because he has lived both sides of it, the excitement of building something new and the pressure of carrying real responsibility for people, decisions, money, and outcomes. So in this session, he brings a grounded view of entrepreneurship that moves beyond the hype and focuses on judgment, clarity, resilience, and the leadership required when the real world reality hits. And with us, of course, Susette.
I'm already sweating. I'm sweating because now, this impressive CV of Al, Okay, Vicky, go ahead. Let me give a chance myself.
I have to put you on the spotlight. You are Susette, our wonderful CEO of Sales Pro for You. Susette is a physicist and an entrepreneur driven by innovation and impact. After transitioning from science to industry, she founded Sales Pro for You to connect international experts with startups, scale-ups, and SMEs in sales, marketing, and business development. Additionally, Susette works as a freelance project manager based in Germany, helping companies in medtech, pharmaceutical, and mobility industries successfully deliver time-critical projects. So, for everyone who is watching and for the ones who are going to watch this live session, we will be posting in our channels, in our website, of course. I want to say, if you are interested after this session, for sure you will be, in book a personalized power session with Aloysius in our webshop. We will share the link of our webshop afterwards so you can do it. So now that all the introductions I think I cover, let's dive in. I will open with our first question. How did you become an entrepreneur? For both of you.
Suzette, why don't you go first, please?
Yeah, thank you so much. I was just trying like, oh my God, what a moderator,
Yeah. Fantastic.
So Vicky, you are born for this, Vicky. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Now, I feel the pressure, but also the pleasure to be with Aloysius, so Al today. And I, of course, Al, thank you so much. Ladies first, I'm going to answer the first question, which is, how did you become an entrepreneur, right? That was the question. Accidentally, luckily, I was fired. So this is my story, and to sum it up, because I also will give Al's perspective on this, how he did become an entrepreneur, and besides I was fired. I would say it was a wake up call from the universe. Yes, because if this would not happen, I would never ever become an entrepreneur at the end. El, how is your story? El.
Well, my story is very similar. To everybody who's going to view this or viewing it now, we all talked and I shared. I was a sales manager at Dun& Bradstreet on a very promising career, got a lot of recognition. I don't want to sit there and brag, so I won't. But a major whistleblower event happened, and I was forced to choose sides. I could pick what I thought was the right side, or I could take the company side and protect my career. I chose the right side, and that's been a constant theme of my career is ethics and the importance of it. But I chose and actually wouldn't take the company side and actually defended the whistleblowers to my detriment, which basically they told me I would be the longest running divisional sales manager in the history of the business. I actually had my vice president tell me that. Or they would fire me if I screwed up or didn't follow company policy 100%. Anybody who knows me knows that this was literally impossible for me. So I had no choice. Um, I made an appearance on the news show 2020, where I read my resignation letter and I resigned because of the company's position. And then I found out that I was kryptonite for anybody who knows Superman uh, to any major company that was looking to hire people. And I was very qualified, and this would come up, and I was done. And so, basically, what choice did I have? I wanted a career. I wanted to be able to make money. I went into the entrepreneurial business, just like Suzette.
Oh, this is absolutely fabulous that you are sharing this. Someone should make like a TV series out of this or a TV show. I mean, I would love to watch, people sitting in front of a TV show or whatever, and they read their resignation letters or something like this. So this, I mean, it's a lot of mental pressure. All this being in the job world, you have to work. In any case, you have to work to make money. And then what I think, and this was for us hopefully maybe clear because of the universe, we had like a path to go. We had no choice, we had no choice, right? This was maybe I mean, I don't know.
Didn't feel like it. Yeah, didn't feel like it, right? And I think that's probably the case with a lot of people. Other people, they feel pushed or compelled into it for emotional reasons. They don't get enough out of their current job. And I would tell you that's you hear the people quit their boss, not their company. I think that's true to an extent. But if the people out there are feeling or thinking about starting a business and it's because you don't see a fit for your personality or what drives you behavior wise, I actually think that's a important sign because you can force yourself to live with something that's painful, but I'm convinced if you do it over a period of time, it's too big of a sacrifice. You lose too much of yourself. And so if you feel that, I'm not saying you should go start a business, but I'm going to advocate that you should start looking for better opportunities that match your personality and your drivers. Let's face it, everybody will find a perfect match.
I
Right?
have to interrupt you because
Sure,
that
please.
you already said something like you said in one phrase, I guess it was like entrepreneurship. No, it was like pain, blah 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 blah, entrepreneurship. And the first thing I had like, Jesus, I mean, I really have to question if entrepreneurship isn't pain sometimes, right?
Sure it is. Come on. You know it is. Everybody says that's acting like she doesn't know. She started 2 businesses. So I'm going to turn this around. So Suzette, we both know there's a lot of pain involved with being an entrepreneur. So what was the one area of pain that kind of surprised you? Because let's face it, there's things out there that people would assume, but what might catch people off guard a little bit as far as some of the areas where you can have pain or stress?
Thank you so much. This is a very valuable question, and I'm going to answer this. I have no time to think it through, but I made experience within the last weeks, and I found the source of my pain with respect to being an entrepreneur. There's a saying, I'm not quite sure if it's correct in English, but it's like there is something for nothing. So, which you got me? Okay, it was good. Good. So, which means you can be a very successful entrepreneur, in any kind of field you would like to become an entrepreneur if you have a clear vision and you like to do it and you burn for it and you have the desire. But the bad thing is there's always something so for nothing, which means you have to give something. You have to, you have to work on the weekends. You have to make your taxes. You have to save money for the tax department. You have to say no to your friends. You have to say no to your weekends, to your family weekends, to your hobby, to your husband, to your wife, to your children.
At times, right? Not always, but so I love the way you phrase that because it's all true. I have this book that I read years and years ago. It was written back in the 1980s. It's called The Winner's Edge. I love this book for a big reason because the writer, who was a psychiatrist, by the way, one of the things he said, in order to be successful, you have to be willing to do whatever it takes. Now, there's a lot in that one little sentence, right? So,
Especially the ever and all.
yeah. Well, but you don't have to do it forever. But there are critical times where you got to be able and willing to do whatever it takes. And that's especially true for an entrepreneur. Because, Suzette, when a customer, a really important customer, changes the timeline and they tell you they got to have it a week earlier, who's on the hook to do it?
I mean, this is like the regular
Not
life.
you.
This is the regular life in my case, because I'm always, you're absolutely right. I'm always involved in projects with the demand of two things: highest quality on a very short amount of time. So this is my life. I love it, I love doing it, but it's a very stressful situation because most of the things which hit me mostly as an entrepreneur are these urgencies, this I love them. I love doing them. I always will do them. But you have to notice and you have to live it, and then you have to put things aside, right? Like I said, weekends with the family, going out to a party, working on a fucking Sunday, when the weather is nice, all such
Right.
things. But yeah, I hope I answered your question.
Well, I think you did. We'll go to our moderator. Was that a good answer?
I was thinking, actually, this fireman setup mind that you have to
Fire
have
person.
always. Fire person, exactly. And we maybe women, we are used to have those kind of mentality. But I was thinking, while you were saying this about psychology, do you think that you have to set it up an entrepreneur's mind? You are born with it, or you just have to how to say, do gym with it, right?
Oh, that's a lovely question. Thank you for that. So,
Absolutely.
can I answer this one first?
Of course. No. I'm making notes. To cheat.
So, no, I think you develop the mindset, really. I guess there's some people that are born with this naturally, but I think most of us, we develop our skills. We have certain things we're inclined towards. And so, it's going to be easier to adopt, but I think you adopt that. And I started my career out in sales, and I would tell you, I think sales is a great training ground for being an entrepreneur, because either you produce and you keep your job, or you fail and they get rid of you, right? So it it makes that real binary, and I don't think a lot of roles are like that. And so the buck stops here when you're a salesperson. You got to make sure it happens, right? And I think that's a great training ground for entrepreneurs because of that. But I also think that's where you develop the tolerance for that very hard line, right? And I think that's the first thing most people don't get comfortable with. I worked with a bunch of people at Dun& Bradstreet, Reynolds and Reynolds, and Procter and Gamble, all major corporations, right? So, in Procter and Gamble, there's only maybe 40, 50 companies that are bigger than Procter and Gamble in the world.
Yeah, huge. Yeah.
Yeah, and these people think they have stress, and they do, but they have no stress like an entrepreneur, right? Because you have people you can go to for help. You have a boss who will hopefully coach you through
Who
it.
will be playing
other
if there's an
departments.
issue?
Yes. When you're the entrepreneur and you're the founder and you're a smaller company, it's all you, right? It all stops and rests on you. That's when you understand what stress really is. And the closest thing I can liken to that is being a parent. Before you have kids, you think you know what having kids is like, right? Vicky, you can
Vicky,
relate to
yes.
this. Right? But until you have kids, that's when you really appreciate what it really means. And it's the same thing with starting a business. When you're a founder, you don't realize all that and what all that means until you're living it. And so that's kind of why, when we started this conversation, why I was so enthusiastic about participating, is because I had how many people say, "Oh, I could start my own company," and I would sit back and think, you think you would. And maybe intellectually you might have it, but these would be the same people at 5 o'clock or 5:30, they're done. They'll finish up the report tomorrow.
Yes.
When the wolf's at the door, you ever heard that term, either of you? The wolf's at the door?
What
That's
was
the
that?
harsh
Like,
reality at the door.
okay,
And the
like
wolf's at the
eating
door,
you.
pounding on the door.
Yeah,
It's the harsh realities of life. And
I like
you
this.
better be able to answer it because otherwise the wolf's going to eat you.
Yes, yes,
Right?
yes.
It's
Like the grandmother. Yeah, I know. We call
yes.
it. I don't know what it is. Anyway,
Right.
but nice. But so you mean it's partly DNA and partly development, or what? What is it now?
Absolutely. It's
Yes.
the willingness to do what it takes to get the outcome that you desire. And so, do you want it enough? Right? I think that's the key question. Because, look, let's face it, a lot of people are average intelligence or above. They're driven and they care. The last question is, do they want it enough to get the drive to do the tough parts? Right?
Absolutely.
Because every business I've been associated with, let's say even the one that went really well, right? And I did have one that went pretty well, right?
Of course you did.
But
You
there
have
were,
they were listed in Fortune 500, right?
well, not the company that I founded. No, I started one at the big software company that was very successful, right? But there were still a lot of
Okay.
ugly moments. I had people that were trying to take me out there because of political reasons, right? Because I
Yeah.
came in and they said, "Well, Al, here's the budget. Here, go start your own this little division and stuff." And there were people that were very resentful, and I didn't realize how resentful people could be, and they came out for me, right? They really tried to take me out. There was a lot of ugliness there, so I didn't have any business that there weren't a lot of ugly moments. And you sit there, and sometimes you go home and you look in the mirror and you're like, is it worth it? And if you don't have that drive and have enough, I think that's when you start, I see people fold, right? And that's why I thought this thing about taking the glory out of it and let's talk about the reality was really important because, okay, you're sitting at home or at work, you got a great idea, you think you want to go into business. And that's when I want to bring the reality. There's going to be some real brutal, ugly, brutal moments, right?
Brutal. Yes, yes. There could be some mental breakdowns. I mean, this is serious shit,
Yeah.
Really.
Well, it can be.
I mean,
It can be.
can be.
Is it worth it? Are you willing to pay the price? I think that's the last question you should ask yourself.
The prices.
Got all the business stuff lined up, are very comfortable with it. Are you ready to pay a heavy price for it? Because I
Yes.
really think that's the question, right?
Absolutely. I mean, to add on this nice explanation from you, Al, people mostly see, and I also saw, I have to admit, when I was 5 years ago or so, I also saw at the beginning, like, besides this, there was a emergency situation I had to handle and I had to get my shit together. And I also
Right.
saw just like money, maybe freedom, maybe travel, independency. No, 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 no. Now, after 5 years, I can tell you there is some like flavors of it.
Yes, some.
Some.
Enough
But,
of a taste, right?
yes,
Enough of a
exactly.
taste.
Exactly.
So, with the one consulting business I was a co-founder, I traveled to 43 of the 50 United States. There's
Wow.
travel. Oh, wow. And all of our spouses acted like we were on vacation. Oh my God, our travel was brutal, right? We would go and I'd be in a different city every day, the way we had to structure it cost-wise to make it work, right? So I'd fly in, let's say, San Diego. I'd do a day in San Diego, drive up, do a day in Los Angeles, drive up, do a day in Sacramento, drive up and do a day in San Francisco, or have a little bit of time in between. There was no sightseeing unless I built it in and stayed over a weekend. And that's the thing. It's like travel. Yeah, there was travel. Business travel to me is not a lot of fun, right? Now
No,
we
you
can
have
have
to.
fun
You have
components,
yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah. And so I'm glad you mentioned that, right? So yeah, it's work. So why do you do it? So Suzette, let's talk about the reasons why you do it. What's in it to be an entrepreneur? Let's not just talk about the bad side, right?
Okay, so your question is why I'm doing that? So why I'm bringing this
Why'd you
burden?
stay? You wouldn't have stayed if it didn't give some value back, right? So why'd you stay?
Okay, I'm telling you the truth now, and the truth is you have
earlier.
no, the truth is you have to have a goal. And the goal should be very clear. And then you know why you get your ass off every morning. I mean, you could also have this goal besides being an entrepreneur. If you love being, you know, an employee and working with a nice team and a great boss and you like to develop and grow, I'm absolutely with you, you know. It's just not me. It's not my personality. I have issues. I cannot do it. So I just work proper if I work, you know, like for somebody and not you know, anyway. So you have to have a goal, and the goal should be as clear as possible. So a very measurable goal, you know, the smart goal stuff. In this case, it's worth to have it because you need the motivation, you know, when you are again in this hurricane of taxes, I don't know, weekends, you know, all this crazy shit. Yeah.
So when you created the Salesforce Pro for you, right? It's successful. How'd that make you feel? What kind of feelings does it give you?
There's always more, you know. This is my
I know you
feeling.
want more, but let's talk about the feelings it gives you, right? Is there there's a level of satisfaction there?
Okay. Okay. Okay, this is maybe a bit special, but I'm going to answer it wisely. I feel joy in doing different things. So when things work out for me, I am happy, but just for the moment. So I live challenges. So that's why I like to found more companies and try and to test things out. So this is absolutely me. That's why I could not work, you know, for one employer all the time because I just get like there is more, you know, how I could serve with my
True.
yes, with my what is it, desire, you know, like passion. Passion. Yeah.
So that's why you're an entrepreneur, because it gives you the freedom to direct yourself, choose the things you go after, and to drive your desire to try, test, and learn, right? So that's the value why you
Absolutely.
work.
Yes.
So
You described it wonderful.
that's to me, that's the big thing. You get to make the decisions. That's why I think one of the big things for being a founder is you get to make the decisions. You know,
Exclamation mark.
right. But you also own all of them too, and you own the fallout or the outcomes of all of them too, right? So that's the reality of it. So
Okay,
when I founded,
I would like to hear Vicky's opinion about it.
oh sure, let's
Because yes. Because Vicky has also to be responsible for her decisions as a freelancer, you know. I mean, the decisions you do, and you have to take into account not only you and your decisions.
Exactly. Yes, when you are a mom, you also have to think in what all the decisions you make, you're making for a family. But I was thinking actually about this idea, what Susette was telling, that always having new challenges. I think that I'm very familiarized with that concept because I am always wanting, you know, for me it's like new tasks, new challenges. I get bored. You know, you can when you start doing things that you really do not enjoy anymore, it's very difficult. But of course, you have this balance where you have to do things where you do it because they are giving you money, and that's the way you have to support your family. But also, you want to take new risks. So, where my question there maybe is, where do you seem to put the bar, right? If you go one step forward and you risk, you know, how do you manage risks? That would be the question when you're an entrepreneur.
wow, okay. So Suzanne, I'm going to let you answer that one first, so I get some time.
No, no. This is a very
Okay.
difficult question.
I'll
Go
take it first.
please.
So here's rule one. You always have to make sure you have to have enough money and enough base to feed the beast. You know what the beast is?
My two kids, no.
House payment, food, right? And
Mm.
social. A little bit of social, because you have to have some activities. We're all social beings. So you always make sure you take care, you got enough to feed the beast. And we talked about this the other day where I said about that 80-20 thing.
Yes.
So then you can take calculated risk. Now, here's the thing, the Lean Startup. Either of you have read it by Eric Ries, The Lean Startup?
No. Is
Okay,
there maybe a
so
movie?
it's a book, no movie. Book.
Unfortunately.
I'm old school. I'm old school book, Chris. Really good book, really insightful, and that's part of the thing. So now what we want to do when we have a new interest area, we want to test it small, controlled, and limited as far as what it'll do to us financially. And then we can test and try a bunch of things or keister off under those rules, right? And then we go find our next thing that we think will excite us, but also we can make money at and with and add to our portfolio, right?
L.
So that'd be my advocation. What's that?
I'm going to. Can I maybe kindly challenge these risks?
Sure, please.
Good. Thank you so much. Because I unfortunately I experienced exactly no what is it, security net? You know what I mean? So there was
Yes.
just me
Safety
and
net.
there was no safety net. Thank you so much. There was no safety net. I mean, when I was going to move, to make the move to be an entrepreneur, I started from the situation that I have to pay the next month my apartment lease, and
Sure.
also I guess this is familiar to you, and also my my car insurance and all this,
Sure.
the social
You're right.
stuff and all this stuff. So, but I had not like 100,000 euros or dollars, whatever currency you belong to you, on my
But you had
bank
no
account.
choice.
I had
It's
no
like
choice. Yes, and I had no
it's
choice, and I had not the option. I had no money, and I had not the
right.
option to test it in in a test environment. I just was sure about that it's going to work somehow out, because I had the impulse since 5 years to do it. But I was just too what is it? Not shy. Anxious. Yes,
Huh?
it's anxious. I was fucking anxious to do it.
So here's the thing. I don't discount any of that because I told you when we started our first company, I lived in a friend's attic out of cardboard boxes. So that's pretty destitute too. But would I choose that? No. If we're going to choose it, I'm in a position of some security. I'm going to do what I say. Make sure I can feed the beast. Now, I might feed the beast with a year's worth of savings, right? That might be my feed the beast. But I want to have, if I can, have some comfort and security in that. So then I'm not risking everything, right? So a lot of people see entrepreneurs sort of like the old oil, what do they call them? Can't remember, but the oil catters. They would just go and so we're going to drill oil here for oil.
Yes, yes, yes,
And it was like 80% miss, right?
yes.
And the guy's out of business or the person's out of business. I don't advocate that because that's high risk. That's high return, but that's huge risk. I think if you have the choice, you want to balance it, right? Have enough. Now, let's talk about what feed the beast means. It doesn't mean have like a 4,000 square foot house and 2 new cars and everything else.
But this is
Yeah.
another risk. This is another.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Al. I have a lot of friends. I mean, worldwide, and some of them also they were feeding that beast. I mean, like overfeeding. Like you spend your money on, I don't know, a fucking Lamborghini or whatever, because you believe you need this thing. To be like, hey, I did it. And then half a year later, you get a letter from the tax department, and they say, hey, I'm going to get from you 90,000 US dollars. So we gotta go. Or court, straight. No court, jail.
I tell my son, a smart person learns from their mistakes. A brilliant person learns from the mistakes of others.
I love that.
And so my advocacy would be watch what you see other people do and learn and make sure you don't make their same mistakes, right? Now V1. So it's sort of like any entrepreneur should always have a nest egg, right? They should always have something back if they can. Now, you and I both didn't start that way, right? I'm not saying everybody has that luxury, but let's say you started your first business, it got successful. Now you want to branch out. I'm telling you, you should have a nest egg when you branch out, right?
Always.
Or
You should
or
should
you
have
go
it
your next
always.
Yeah.
Yes, you should
And
have
that's
it
what I
always.
was answering. That's the question I was answering with the risk, right? Now, the question about risk. So, what's a risky business to start? That would be a better question, right?
Everything
what's
related.
not a
I
risky
tell you, can I tell you? I have to tell you. I'm sorry. I'm so excited. Your questions are brilliant. So you said, I almost forgot the question during the excitement. You said, what is a risky business to start, right? Or what was the question? This was the question.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
And I'm going to answer any business related to products.
Is that it?
Wow. Okay. Vicky, you want to weigh in on this?
Yes, I have another answer. I am thinking that you don't have to be so passionate about what the business you're getting into. So don't mix up passion with businesses. Because you get too in love with it, and that's too risky.
Okay,
That would be my
I love
answer.
that answer. First of all, you get like 5 gold stars from me, right? Because I agree with you. It's not all about passion like a lot of people think, right? Because you can be passionate about something that only 10 other people care about in the world, and you're going to starve, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I say you have to care enough about it to stick with it, but that's it, right? And then you have to pay attention to what the universe tells you. So I'm a big universe guy, right?
Yeah.
And remember, we talked about this. What do I say you need to start a business? Is it a great idea? You remember their conversation?
No, I'm right now stuck.
No. Yeah.
Great problem. You have to have a great
yeah.
problem.
Yes.
If you have a great problem, is
I
step
agree.
one. Step two is you have a great problem that a lot of people have, right? Now you have a business. Because if you can solve that problem, you have a lot of people who will pay to make it go away, right? If it's a big problem, right? So now, if you're passionate about that, that's great. But I don't think you need to be passionate about that. I think you just need to care enough about it to stay with it, right? And the only reason I said that is I worked with this guy, brilliant man, really smart, really driven, but he had ADD in business too. And he never would stay with anything long enough to get there, right? He'd have what looked like the beginnings of a big problem, would start going after it, but as soon as it got a little tough, he got enticed by something over here, which had a bigger, better promise, right? And he never stayed with it long enough. And he just kept jumping around. Now, he had some success, but he would have had 10 times more if he just would have stayed with one of the things, even if it wasn't the biggest return, because he was just getting into where you really develop it, right? And I'm going to ask both of you. You both are in business. How long did it take you to figure out the formula? Every business has a formula. I need to do this much, make this many contacts, they have this much work pending in the pipeline, and then you've got this little operating formula, when things are going good and you're set up for the next 6 months to a year, right? How long did it take you to get to that formula?
Wow, that's a great question. Maybe.
We'll let Suzette answer it first if you want to.
Yes,
If you want to win.
Maybe you can answer it with first.
So I don't know if I should share my formula,
You don't have to say your formula. How long did it take you to get there to where you had it?
Okay, quick answer. I'm still getting there.
Oh, wow. Interesting. And how long? How many years? No, I'm not making fun of you. How many years?
Okay, now since 5 years.
But do you feel comfortable you've got business coming in and revenue 6 months from now?
Well, yes, but the revenue and to speak in not in numbers, but in what is it like pictures? I would say I would like how to explain it. There's always the demand of more. The results are not satisfying me.
So I love
And
this.
I have to add.
Good.
there's like I spend more than I get. You know this 80-20 thing we discussed last time, where you said you believe you get 80. Can you say it again?
Well, it's a pair two principle, but I reversed it to output. We talked about when you get 100, when you get 100 out of 100% effort, a lot of people think I only do 80%, I'll get 80%. And you and I talked about how that last 20% is no, that's not how it works. That last 20% is like half of the return. So if you do 80% of the effort, you only get 50%
Yes,
of the revenue you would from
yes,
100. That's what
exactly.
we talked about.
And
Yeah.
this is, and thank you so much that you brought this up to my mind, because now I know always, you know, I mean, I knew it before, but I had no number thing. Now I have a number thing, and I know, okay, if I spend 80%, I just get out 60. And this is what I fucking hate. I would like to work on that.
You know that 80% is just a guesstimate of mine based off the pair two principle and how often I've seen that everywhere in business, right?
I'm not quite sure if I understood this.
It's not a hard number. It's not a hard number. All I'm saying is but it's an approximate, right?
But the
Yeah.
revenue should be higher, but not in terms of money, more in terms of creativity, flexibility, you know, those things. Of course, I would be nice to earn always more money, but you know, I mean, you can, no, you know, I mean, it's not, you know.
So I'm going to use you as an example, Suzette, if I might, with the audience right now, okay?
Okay, let's do
Is
it.
that okay?
Please.
So what Suzette has just demonstrated, everyone, is what I've seen with every entrepreneur and every founder I've known. Now, all my friends had their own business except one or two of them, right? We're all a bunch of former founders or retired founders, however you want to say it. I've never found one that was completely satisfied with how their business was going. I had a friend's got his own printing business. He had record year after record year, and he still wouldn't say things were going well. He would not. And Susette just did that too. And so what I'm trying to say is when you're a founder, it's your business and you're responsible for everything, you never really take your foot off the gas because you feel like you can't. That's the real stress you live with. And Suzette just shared that with us. I was trying to get to this formula thing, and she actually has the formula because she's confident in 6 months from now, she's still going to be making money. She's still going to be having a business, but she can't get comfortable. She won't let herself get comfortable with that. She still has tension there. And that's the real price you pay, I think, for being a founder. That stress never seems to go away until you fully retire like me.
Lucky you.
I have a question. I don't know how much time I think we
Thank you so much, Elle. This was a very nice analysis. Thank you so much. It was very frank. I appreciate. I don't feel offended. It was very nice. Thank you so much.
Well,
Vicky.
I did the same thing. I had no room to talk.
Yeah, because
I did the same thing.
now it's easy, you know, because you have this vision and this, you saw the lights, you know. I am still like digging in, you know.
No, it's hard when you're living it to see it. You ever hear the saying, you see something better on a friend?
Yes,
Yeah.
like the grass is greener on the other side of the.
Well, no, but if somebody has a flaw, you can see it easier. Someone has a strength, you can see it easier because we have objective viewpoint of it.
Yeah.
And that's what this is. I couldn't see it until I was no longer in it. But then I started talking to these people still running their business, and they would say things, and I was like, God, did I ever say that? And I was like, holy crap, yeah, I did. You know, I was like, and then I was like, oh, I see it now, right?
Thank you so much.
But I
I'm now also seeing it. Vicky, sorry.
Yes, no, please. I think, in my opinion, the formula is never done. You never, because it's always transitioning, right? I mean, new technologies, new market feedback, new people, and it's always reframing. I mean, could you say, Al, from all of your businesses that you had one same formula and you keep with it, or you were always renewing it?
Vicky, 5 more gold stars. You are killing it today. You are.
Okay.
So no, the formula is never set. I love you for saying that. Okay. I write about this in this book I wrote and I'm trying to get published. This is the road to ruin. People get a formula and they think it never changes and they fall too in love with the process. But You still have a formula to start with. It's still producing. You still have some comfort level with it, right? The thing I was trying to make was, until you get to some comfort with your formula, you're really stressed as a founder, right? An entrepreneur. But that you only get to a certain level and then it stops. And then you're like what Vicky or Suzette demonstrated, right? That you constantly have this, what's coming, what's next, just as you just pointed out. That you're never totally set because life is constantly changing.
Which
And the
good.
one thing I can guarantee you, or anybody listening, is that it's going to change. What you think is fixed, never bet on it, right?
Yes, exactly.
So, but Vicky, awesome question and statement. Oh my gosh!
So we should do this. We have to admit to ourselves. We should do this more often.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, as a founder, my recommendation is to associate with other founders and have these kind of sessions, because it just allows you to express it and understand that other people are going through it too. And those people will share some things that they've done to help get through it, right? That's the other thing that would be great if you continued this as a series and brought other people in and just talked and shared this. Because I'm telling you, I've advised founders, and a lot of the people I got through friends, friends of mine who said, I've got somebody, would you be willing to talk to them? And I see them go through the same thing. And it's sort of like, since I've lived it so many times, it's sort of like I can instantly relate to it, right? But at the same time, I can do it with detachment because I'm not in it. And I can tell them, I understand how you feel. You feel really overwhelmed, blah, 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 blah. Now, my next question is really going to bug you. What are you going to do to get out of it? Right? Because you can't stay like that, right?
Me? You mean me in my position, or what do you mean?
Any entrepreneur, any founder, yes, you can't stay like that, right? It's like you ever read anything about the steps of grief recovery? It's like grief recovery.
So just one thing because there's a lot of things and we are diving and whatever, we are floating into other topics.
So we're gonna free flow, yeah.
One thing, yes, we just anyway. You said something incredible, and I made a note because we could really do some kind of a joint founders talk. So we have a session. We can just invite people, maybe those who are watching anyway, and it's a free session, and we can just talk. And who likes to joins, and who is not joining. So
Right,
anyway,
exactly. Yeah, no, yeah, a founder support group, absolutely.
oh, this sounds a bit like a therapy. I don't.
Well, it'll be
It
partly.
is? Oh no.
It's partly therapy. It's partly business ideas, right? It's partly, you can go to it as where it's a think tank almost, where, hey, I got this problem. How would you solve it? Have you seen it before, right?
Yes. Very
Why?
nice.
Why recreate the wheel on your own? Why not have other people you can talk to and get other insights? Right? So there's this little cartoon I love. It's this elephant, and you got all these scientists, and they're all blindfolded. One's holding on his tail, and he thinks it's a rope. Another one's touching his foot. He thinks it's a tree trunk. And it's sort of like, it's all about your perspective. And how you see something is limited by your perspective. That the only person, if these people would talk, they would all figure out what they were working with, right? But they don't talk and communicate and share their perspectives. And that's kind of why I love that cartoon, because the better you try to see something, the better decision you can make about it, is the theory. Anyway, but back to grief counseling. It's like grief counseling. You have to allow yourself the emotion of the frustration and being upset that something big happened, right? As an entrepreneur, we're all human. You need to exercise something. I used to have a punching dummy in my office at one time.
I do sports. I do sports. A lot of sports. What I do, to relieve. Or I do kind of yoga. And I mean the talking way is. And this is maybe a topic for our next session. We could talk about the support an entrepreneur needs. Because
or can benefit from.
Yes. So how because I mean talking to other entrepreneurs is helpful, but there's one thing which is more helpful. I'm not going to say now. So Vicky,
Vicky?
yeah.
Yes, so I think I'm so sorry, but I think that we have to wrap it up for today because we are ending. I think we are already half an hour. Just maybe one final thought or maybe some final message for entrepreneurs from Al and also from Susette.
I'm going to have Suzette wrap it up because you remember who opened it? Who opened it? Suzette. You remember who wrapped it up, and Suzette wraps it up, and then it should be the most memorable. Okay.
No, actually, it should be you. But anyway.
No. I just want to say to everyone who's thinking about this journey, who started on it, trust me, the things you're going to experience, you're not the first person to experience them, more than likely. And they're not always easy, and it's not always glamorous. I know a lot of times we start these businesses and we think of glamour. There's a lot of harsh reality to it. But I would tell you, if you have a great, powerful problem and you solve it and make a successful business, there's not too many things that I've encountered in my life that were more satisfying, right? Especially from a personal, individual basis. That's lesson one. Lesson two is, even if you're a sole founder, you never do it alone. There are always people along the way who help you, whether you recognize it in the moment or not, right? So don't think you have to do it all by yourself. Find people. There are people out there like me who will mentor friends of friends. There are people who've done it before that, believe it or not, will give you coaching that's really worth a fortune, and they'll share it with you. All you have to do is ask. So don't try to do it all by yourself, right? And then allow yourself to be human. You're going to make mistakes. The important thing is admit it as fast as possible and then figure out how to fix it. And those would be the three things that I would leave people with.
Thank you, Al. Very good. I will have this written and framed in my kitchen.
If there's any licensing fees, I'll expect a little bit of a commission.
Yes. Okay. Especially, the part of being human and allowing mistakes, because for me personally, it's very hard when I do something wrong. Very, very hard. So it's very important to admit and find a way to solve it, right? Yeah.
I absolutely feel you. Okay, so my last words, they are not that impressive. No, I just say it like you have to have a goal. You have to have a very clear goal. This is the first thing. And the second thing is just, again, what I said before, it's something for nothing. So you would like to get, being an entrepreneur, being successful, being seen, something like this. You have to pay for this, with weekends, I don't know, with friends, with families, and all those things. Okay, anyway, it was a pleasure. Vicky L, I go, right? We go all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Al.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Bye, Al. Bye.
Forward for another session. Bye bye.
Ciao.
Ciao.